Hey, welcome back to the Confidad podcast. Your host, Dan Tinquist, here with you on what is in Minnesota here, a cold but beautiful sunny January day. We'll start out with our mindset like we do every episode, reminding ourselves what is true, reminding you what's true, reminding me what's true, and living that out with intention. Here we go. I am the only one who can fulfill the father role I have, so I choose to do it well. I get to show up well for my kids. Imperfection is reality. Ownership is a choice. Today is brand new, and so is tomorrow. I am wholly loved, so I will love wholly. On today's episode, I'm going to equip you with the third family culture builder, the third core concept of our family culture framework. And the third one is adventure. Why does adventure matter? Well, we like to have fun together, right? Like some of the most important memories in our life are when we were having fun. Memories are made when we experience our emotions together. We know this with sadness or celebration or being scared. There are things that happen in our lives that become our memories. And one of the most powerful ways that we can build memories as a family is by taking risk together, but going on adventure. Now, this risk should be calculated. It should be something that would be helpful and cumulatively enjoyable as a family. So you know your family better than I know your family, but the idea is coming to the understanding through conversation, connection, the time well spent method all throughout your lives is getting to know your kids to a level of saying what would they see as being adventuresome? I've heard so many parent coaches or people talk about what's the most important thing about your family, meaning how did you build this bond that's so sustainable and so strong? And I've heard so many people say camping. Now, maybe you're not someone who likes to camp, but let's just think about why is camping a powerful way of building bonds and memory and relationship? Okay, you have to bring only the essentials. Right? You can't bring all the extra things, all the conveniences that we have in our modern day. You don't really get to bring those along camping, okay? In order to have a successful camping trip, everyone has to contribute to some degree, right? It's teamwork. It's coming together as a family to accomplish this goal. It's sleeping out under the stars or in your camper, in hammocks, whatever the mode of camping is. The idea is that you're not at home, but you're far enough away from home that you can't just run home if you forget something, right? So it begins to build resiliency. What if I don't have that thing? Your kid forgets their blanket or their stuffy, or they don't have their phone, or whatever the thing is they forget. They have to work through that with you by their side. It starts to build problem-solving skills. One of my favorite things to do when we camp is to help our boys learn how to start fires, learn how to collect firewood or kindling for the fire, how to let them start to do things that they can almost do on their own, right? So when we think about this, not just in camping, but our kids should be able to be empowered to contribute at a level that they are capable and then a little bit above. Right? So when we're camping or when you're out on these adventures, empower your kids by allowing them to do things that they are not yet good at, but not so the gap between the skill level and what they're able to do is so far that they get filled with shame and they're like, I'm good enough. But, those things that they're able to do with just a little bit of help. And then everything that they can do without help, have them do it. Okay? When we think about the value that a camping experience provides, it just begins to create a team. It creates problem-solving, resiliency, teamwork, everyone moving together in a common goal. And that's a little microcosm of what the goal is in this grander picture of a family culture builder. If you want to not just have teamwork, resiliency, problem-solving, all that in a weekend of camping, it requires making sure you're bringing some of those things back from the adventure into your family's life, into the week-to-week rhythm of what you have happening in your family. So the camping example is really, really powerful. But say you're not a camping person. Say you're just not going to do it, or your wife's not going to do it, or whatever. Maybe you have a situation in your family and a circumstance where camping just isn't going to work for you. That's okay. Don't use it as an excuse not to go on adventure. Use it as an idea to say, what can we do? What risk can we take? What adventure can we go on that is just beyond, just above our level of capability, just above what we can do on our own, but what together we can accomplish? I'll give you a really specific example from our family. So when our kids were 10, 8, 6, and 4, in the spring, we always take a trip somewhere warm, somewhere in the south, because winters are really, really long in Minnesota. And when I say the spring, I mean the spring everywhere else, but in Minnesota, it's still winter in March, okay? So we head to Zion National Park, and our idea of a good time is hiking, biking, and going places that you can't get on like a tourist bus, okay? So we go to Zion National Park. They have the road that goes all the way up into the Narrows. It's just under 10 miles long, okay? Maybe like 9.1 or something along those lines. And there are tourist buses going up and down the whole time. In the spring season, or the winter and spring, there's only buses allowed. There's no cars. It's just bus traffic and bike traffic. And so we said, we are going to take our family of 6 and we are going to bike to the Narrows. Okay. So from the bike shop where we rented the bikes all the way to the Narrows and then back, it was going to be 19 miles, 19.1 to be specific. Okay, that's just biking. Then we wanted to hike, not all the way to the Narrows because we didn't, it's spring and there's lots of rain and snow melt and stuff. So we couldn't hike into the Narrows through the water, but we wanted to hike up and be able to kind of see that and do a couple of other side hikes to waterfalls along the way. So maybe 2 to 4 miles of hiking beyond just the 19 miles of biking. Okay, remember, 4, 6, 8, and 10. People think we're crazy. And some people who are like super extreme, they're like, that's nothing. Great. Good for you. But this was just beyond our level of like capability, just beyond our level of comfort, our level of like, oh yeah, we could totally do this. We had been totally doing this on other hikes and other excursions all throughout our trip when we went to Death Valley and we went to Valley of Fire State Park and we went to Red Rocks National Conservatory or whatever the name is right outside of Vegas. And we had been doing stuff within our wheelhouse the whole time. That's adventuresome. It's great. It's fantastic. But we needed something that was just above our like confidence level. And here's why. When you take a risk together as a family and you don't know if you're going to meet the goal or reach the goal, what happens is it awakens different things within each of your family members and team members as you go towards this goal. We had our kids like coaching and encouraging each other. We had our kids kind of like creating mini competitions between each other, see who could get to the next mile marker first. And what ended up happening is our 6-year-old biked the entire thing. I was pulling the 4-year-old behind me in the bike cart. The 6-year-old was biking on his own on a rented bike in the middle of the Utah wilderness. He biked an entire 19.1 miles at 6 years old. The idea is, as a family, we had this thing in front of us. We had this risk that we were taking together. It's not like we had total buy-in from all of our kids. Yeah, they complained. Yeah, they said, no, this is a terrible idea. This can be so hot or so long or so miserable. Was it full of complaining? No. Was it without complaining? No. There's just normal, right? Like our family's a little bit like a circus. Sometimes we just take it on the road. The point is not to just let your circus confine you. It's like bring whatever and whoever you are on the road to go on an adventure so that you can build these bonds, so that you can build this resiliency and connection and memory in such a way that your kids begin to understand who your family is. Right? So this is a specific example for us, but what is it for you? What is the thing that you could or would do when it comes to being able to find risks that you're willing to take as a family. I challenged you on the last Saturday short about like, find something that scares you, find something that scares your kids and go and do it. That's where this comes from. It's the idea of like, do the things that are just a little bit above or outside of your comfort zone and do them together. Because as you do them together, here's the deal. You might fail. Okay, we've done things, we've tried things, we've gone on trips or different camping excursions or Airbnbs that we thought were going to be super cool and maybe a little outside of our comfort zone. And yeah, we failed. It was like, wow, that was not cool. That wasn't a great experience. Still builds memory, still builds connection. And you're able to look back and go, gosh, you remember that one time we stayed at that super sketchy place that we probably shouldn't have ever been in because it was like just too dangerous? We're still here to tell about it, thank goodness. But like, the idea of it always working out perfectly isn't the goal. And achieving the goal isn't the goal. Connection is the goal. When you set goals as a family, when you set goals for 2025 or quarter two of 2025, and you're looking ahead to that and you go, man, I just want to reach this goal. When you do it for relationship, the goal isn't the goal. Connection is the goal. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we talk through planning out 2025 and understanding like, what does this look like as a family? How can we incorporate these things into our normal everyday life? But remember, connection is the goal. Achieving the goal isn't the goal. But if you don't put that goal in front of you, you don't put that thing out in front of you, you don't take that risk, you don't go on that adventure, you don't push yourself outside of the comfort zone far enough to really have any kind of significance in building that bond, finding the edges of who you are as a family, who you are as a team. You might live just a super constrained life together as a family. You might be safe, you might be comfortable, but are you living to your fullest potential? Likely, you're not. So as we finish up talking about the third family culture builder adventure, a few ways I want to empower you. When you think about a way to go on an adventure as a family, a way to take a risk as a family, as soon as the thought enters your mind, as soon as you start to kind of brainstorm and go there, you're going to come up with all the reasons why not. You can think about that for whatever it is, whatever kind of self-improvement or thing you want to do to work on. You're like, oh, I should do this because it's gonna XYZ, but I can't afford it. What if we get hurt? What if XYZ? And if you're going to make decisions out of fear, you're going to stay in a constrained place. Maybe you'll be safe, maybe you'll be comfortable, but it doesn't feel like a full life. And as you do this, as you think about like, I'm going to move into adventure, it doesn't mean you got to do something every weekend. Maybe once a quarter, maybe once a month. Once a month is great. You have maybe one big thing in a quarter and then a couple other things throughout the month, just to keep yourselves on your toes, to keep yourselves moving at a pace where you're living a full life and not a little, just tiny, comfortable and constrained life. I would love to know what kind of adventures you've been on as a family, what kind of risks you've taken together as a family. Would love you to comment on the podcast episode and let me know, what are you doing as a family to build memory by going on adventures and taking risks together. Hope you feel empowered today, my friends, and we will see you in the next episode.